Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your practice. Yeah. I don't know how to approach this topic. I mentioned a few videos ago, might have been in the Why Are There So Many Buddhisms video. And I have this recurring thought lately. You know, I've been putting these books together, these assemblages of go-shos, based on a certain concept of Buddhism to get Nichiren's take more specifically on things like mandala versus gohanzen or karma. That's what we've been working on lately, right? Or the profound meaning of the daimoku. I don't know if I'm getting more and more basic, but, you know, I've been doing this for over 40 years. And two things have come, well, many things, but two things seem to be going through my mind lately about our practice, our lives as human samsaric beings, and this quest for clarity, whatever that is, right? Clarity of purpose, of being, of valuation, of life. And as Buddhists, this is our primary concern, right? This is what Shakyamuni set out to figure out how to do. How do we live this life fully without being, in other words, held back or impeded or waylaid, or insert adjective here, by just the annoying tendency to just move into life unexperiencing modes, like stress and depression and preoccupations of things that we spend so much energy and time on, that we miss so much of what is amazing and beautiful in life, right? I mean, this is the whole purpose to practice. This was Siddhartha's mission. He spent 12 years of his life, approximately, we don't know exact dates, but 12 years, that's a long time, right? We don't require that many years of most doctors before we allow them to analyze and right, to treat diseases and so forth. But 12 years of his life, almost died of his own starvation, trying to figure out, at the core of life experience, how do we switch off, if that's the appropriate analogy, this tendency toward stressing out and repetitive thoughts and getting in our own way of what, yes, there are things to say. Yes, life, samsara, is full of potential for everything, and there's potential for pain, for suffering, for obstacles. Yeah, that's not going to go away, ever. That's part of, stars explode. Planets are created. Planets have life, don't have life. It's just, this is the way of physical existence. So yeah, we're not going to get rid of troublesome things. The point is, in our minds, do we obsess about those things? And as we're busy obsessing about those things, what are we missing? Yeah, maybe I have a stubbed toe. So do I favor that foot and limp along and go to the party or go to the game or see my son play basketball or see my daughter perform in a ballet or just go to a lake and fish or breathe at the outdoors and see how beautiful? Or do I just stay home and stare at my stub toe and cry? My stub toe hurts so bad, right? It's ultimately, it's a choice. It's a nagging, constant tendency to remain in a certain condition. These are the words of Buddhism. Now, when I break it down that way, kind of seems obvious, doesn't it? Get off your pity platform, whatever, and yes, acknowledge you have a stubbed toe. You've got to favor that foot. But in the meantime, wow, don't miss out on this amazing life. That's the whole thing. It's about living this life to the fullest, even with the occasional obstacles. They're simply validation that you're living this life. It's hard to stay mentally cognizant of our eighth consciousness tendencies to malinger, to stay stuck. We're not trying to create super beings out of ourselves that don't acknowledge that there's any suffering. No, that's not it. Just understand what holds your attention. Oh my goodness, again, there he goes with Buddhism is about the mind. Well, that's the whole, if you don't know that, then what are you doing? And largely, as I say all the time, attitude and intent, we form our attitude and intent based on these tendencies that we have to cling to problems or obstacles or insert terms here, whatever. And so as Buddhists, we're trying to get clear of those, not that to deny them, but to keep our mind open to the huge experience of beauty and joy in life, even to the point that we can see the obstacles and pain as acceptable validations of the joy we experience. That's quite a shift in thinking, yeah? But then come all the samsaric voices. And this is something I touched on in Why There's So Many Buddhisms. Because there aren't so many Buddhisms. What I just defined for you is Buddhism. It is the enlightenment, the core of the enlightenment, and the motivation for the enlightenment that Siddhartha Gautama experienced and then tried to teach as Shakyamuni Buddhaness. Yeah? It must have come, this is me talking now, I'm kind of empathetic to a man who finally gets this huge aha moment. Wow, if I just make this shift, this paradigm shift in my mind of how I experience life moment to moment to moment, instead of dragging, because in a way, staying focused on that stubbed toe is to be reliving every single moment that stubbing of that toe. That's the suffering he identified very simply and said, look, if I just acknowledge toe is stubbed, okay, and instead of repeatedly focusing on the stubbing of the toe, I start to focus on everything else. Oh, the stubbing of the toe is such a minor little, right? It's minimized. It ceases to hold my attention. What's the word we use all the time in Buddhism for that? Attachment. Attachment isn't my finger attached to my hand. Attachment, mind, mental, is that this holds my attention too much, like a monkey in a tree. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Monkey mind. You see? Repeatedly, over and over again. So, Siddhartha gets this amazing aha. And now that he knows, after 12 years of focus, internal thinking, and consideration, oh, this paradigm shift, this is what we have to do. Now I want to tell everyone about it, because everyone needs to do this. Oh my goodness, how much more life could we experience if we just did this mental adjustment? But now he's faced with a whole new problem. 12 years it took him to get to this insight. I know, I'm not minimizing it, believe me. 12 years to realize this in his own mind, and now he's got to communicate this to others. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking, you remember the Kigon Sutra, the Avatamsaka Sutra, right? It's huge. He just went off talking about the changes, the experience. This is amazing when you get this. And the few remaining followers that were waiting for this 12-year journey to, oh, he gets it. What did you get? What do you have to say? And he just goes off on them. And they're looking at him like, what? Huh? I think he's delirious. What is he talking about? I don't know. These things, these visions, what the hell? They had no idea, no clue. And so after a couple of weeks, not very long, Shakyamuni stops. He stops. Oh, this isn't working. And this is where he's confronted with language, yeah? He's speaking in the parlance of the day, the way people think in ancient India, right? 3,000 years ago, 2,700 years ago, whatever. With all of their mysticism and magic. And he's trying to say, well, let me speak the language of the people, and certainly this is the way I can communicate this amazing insight. But no, that language is fraught with incredible distractions. He had to back off and rethink his pattern. How I'm not helping anyone here. They're just looking at me like I'm from another planet. Right? He had to rethink, how am I going to convey? And I think in retrospect, as I look at the sutras, at the Hinayana, the early teachings, the Agama, and then progressing later into early Mahayana and more evolved Mahayana, you can see a pattern that kind of reflects what Shakyamuni might have considered his own journey. Now, I'm not trying to impose that on your understanding of Buddhism. I'm trying to give you a tool to understand that he backed off of the Avatamsaka and started to teach in stages. That's obvious. There's a lot of scholarship that agrees with that analysis, yeah? Not everyone, There's always somebody who says, well, the first thing he burped out of his mouth is the only thing that's true. Everything else is bullshit. Can't listen to that. But my argument with, as I made in the video, why are there so many Buddhisms, is that's the imposition of the beginnings of what become traditions. It's not a tradition to begin with. It's a certain person or group of people, a town, a culture, a dialect, right? And Shakyamuni didn't have a problem with that. He said Buddhism should be taught in whatever language is the language of that region. Because ultimately, this is key, ultimately, it's each individual has to come to this through their own sentient mind, which is a field, a huge compendium of tendencies and conditions. And they're, although they may be very shared, closely similar life understandings and experiences amongst many people, they're always quite specific, right? Everyone has their own. Remember the video of the fountain analogy? Yeah, it's that simple. So ultimately, even though we may all use the same words, each one of us will figure those out, arrange those Lego blocks in a way that constructs our particular lens. And so this is why I can't hand you Buddhahood. You can't hand Buddhahood to anyone else. Buddhahood is a personal, intimate experience that each individual must come to. And the location where that happens is in the mind, which is what Nichiren is identifying as Gohonzan, right? The mission to get to that mind that blows up Buddhahood, the Gohonzan, is what avails us to Buddhaness, the realization of suchness, the way karma expresses constantly in everything. So now we have new words, more words to... And I was asked some questions recently that made me really consider this major, I don't want to call it a problem, but it's an obstacle, language, right? Because no matter what language you say you speak, we all interpret language in our own way. Same thing. Words are mutable. In fact, I found a discussion on a concept in Buddhism called the 8 winds. And I wrote up a document, and it's posted on threefoldlotus.com. So you can go on the course study materials page, and you'll see a link there, one of the green buttons, called the 8 winds. And I started putting this together in response to the question in the first meditation of Gangyo, when we thank the Shoten Zenjin. Sounds very mystical. These guardian deities, Niten, Gaten, Myojoten, so on and so forth. What are they? Who are they? Where'd they come from? Whose idea was this? Is this something Shakyamuni talked about? Did Nichiren invent this? Did Tendai invent? Whoa, slow down. Yeah, we have a lot of interesting terminologies that we use in our practice of Buddhism. But I will refer you time and again to the Lankavatara, where in the words of Shakyamuni, I mean, you could say the whole sutra is about this one problem of language, that we have a tendency to wrap our ideas of experience around words. the language problem. And over again, Shakyamuni is saying, stop that. The words are just like water. You can dissect water till you get to quantum fields, but that's not going to change the way your boat floats. Understand the function, the meaning, the ideas behind, the uncovering strategy of the words to show you your own experience in your sentient mind of what your mind is doing, how it works, how you can seize the opportunity of the functions of your mind to open that gohanzon and see Buddha-ness. That's the whole scholarship of Buddhism right there. But we forget. We get hung up. What does Namo Myoho Renge Kyo mean? What does each character mean? Why am I reciting this? Why am I reading this? What does it mean? Who wrote this? Those are all samsaric preoccupations. Understand, every time you do that, you are diving into your attachments. You're letting your monkey mind go, ooh, 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 ooh. Like suddenly everything's a banana. Yeah, it's enraging, because that's the very thing we're trying to escape. Not escape from, but escape from our attachment to it, our preoccupation to it, because that's where suffering is. No wonder you're confused. No wonder you can't figure out why your practice isn't working, because your mind is completely obsessed with the things that don't matter. Their only value, now I know I sound like I'm contradicting myself, but words. Yeah, the words matter, but only because they're pointing to something, not because they are something. And so this document, The Eight Winds, it's an exploration of exactly, are we okay? Okay. Of these traditions and language building over centuries that are stand-ins for larger concepts, right? So if I tell you, for instance, this is a letter to Shijo Kingo that's being analyzed, and I went into it and did a lot of editing. This was another teacher's effort, and I didn't like a lot of things that he said, but that's okay. I redressed them, I think, well in this document. But the eight winds are prosperity, decline, honor, disgrace, praise, censure, pleasure, suffering. So what? Oh, great, another list of words. Well, there's a little definition behind them. What is prosperity? To obtain one's desires. To obtain what one desires. How many things can that be? I desire your love. I desire new guitar strings. I desire a roast beef sandwich. I desire better weather. Prosperity. Oh, yeah, a whole different dimension. It's not just about a bucket of money. Prosperity. It's anything validated in the physical world. Because desires, right? By the way, your Gohanzon mind, your Buddha-ness, also a desire. Oh, yeah, right. Wouldn't you say living in your Buddha-ness would be the highest form of prosperity? Okay, so words, yeah, they're not necessarily bad and about attachments. There's also a certain element of success, but is the success in mind, or is the success in body, in the physical? Well, we can't deny the physical. That's what gives us the mind. So we're navigating something here, yeah? Decline. What is decline? I'm getting older, So decline has a specific meaning to me, yeah? But it also means to suffer loss. Well, does that mean loss of stuff? Does that mean loss of the use of my stub toe? Loss of my ability to walk normally or run because of my stub toe? Yeah. Does it mean I lost a $20 bill? Yeah. Think of the stress you feel just from that. How long will you obsess about that? Oh, that time that you're spending obsessing about that? Loss. Loss of what? Time. Why does that matter? Because that time could be spent appreciating suchnesses, Buddha-ness. It's a loss. What about disgrace? To be criticized and defamed in one's absence or behind one's back. Ouch. That's a biggie, right? Sometimes we know disgrace as humiliation. It's immediate. It's in our face. Oh, God, I said that out loud. Oh, I'm so stupid, right? Disgrace. But what if it happens behind your back and you hear about it weeks later? Oh, that's what they were thinking? Whoa, that just the blood runs out of you, right? So the point is not, let's define these 8 winds so that we can know which wind we're experiencing. That's what we tend to do. The point is that there are these conditions of mind that act upon us, that influence our moment-to-moment experience. They're influences, but you could say they're forces of nature. Now we're going into language again. The point is, Buddhism has lots of terminology. Again, always remember, Buddhism is about the mind and how it works. So all this terminology is simply to identify, because that's what we do in samsara, the lenses, filters, influences, the winds that push around our cognizant, moment-to-moment experience of life. So what is the Shoten Zenjin? It's just a way of identifying those forces, those influences, those self-manifested lenses, filters, supports for our Buddha-ness, for our remaining focus on our maximal experience of life. Holding at bay the pain from our stub toe so that we can focus and enjoy and laugh at a comedy or enjoy love making, even with a stub toe, those energies in our sentient mind, experienced in our sentient mind, that uphold, somehow support the beauty, the totality, the amazingness of life. Isn't that always the goal? Right? To live life to the full? So we want to show some appreciation for that mechanism that is of our mind, that we, in our samsaric existence, are actively engaging with. Thank you for that ability, thanking yourself. Who you're thanking? Show things in the sky? Things called myojoten? Stop doing that. That's your samsaric ideation, identification of things. It's not important. The concept is important. Giving yourself a good hearty hug for focusing on the beauty of your life. Oh yeah, in the back pocket I got this stub toe. But that's the beauty of life too. That mental cognition, participation, experience of the totality of life holds at bay the monkey mind. That energy, what do you want to call it? Do you want to call it positive thinking? Do you want to call it Gohonzon mind? Buddha-ness? What do you want to call it? Do you need to call it? Well, if you're going to identify it in samsara so you can talk about it to others, you're going to need to give it a label. What kind of label? The label has to be, it can't be called spam or roast beef or pencil. It's got to be something grander, something more, I don't know, all-encompassing, something anyone who hears it can individuate it for whatever their mind needs to hear. Let's call it a deity, a force, an energy field, and let's give it a cool name. But it's not about that. It's about the experience of it. So what is Shoten Zenjin? Simply your motivations to enlightenment. The energies you're mustering moment to moment to moment to be influenced toward enlightenment. That influence, that formation, that karma. So ultimately, all these words are just identifying manifestations or the formations of manifestations in the engine of life. It's not complicated. We're just identifying little tiny aspects of karma at work. What's the work? We're identifying it. There's the work of not so good. There's the work of enlightenment. There's the work of this is amazing. Right? Any of you programmers out there familiar with object-oriented programming? I know it's probably past now. We're into something else, but right? We have an object and it has different characteristics and qualities. And karma, being potential manifesting, is the ultimate object-oriented programming because it has so many handles, they're unfathomable. And we're left to look at just the mechanism of it, the engine of it. Shoten Zenjin. On the other side of the scale, Dairokutai no Mao. Right? We have all these fancy names, but we're just talking about the same thing. It's so simple, right? And I thought after I put this together, maybe, I don't know, it might be a disastrous idea. But I thought, in the books that I've been creating, oh my gosh, he's finally getting back to the point. Yeah, the books that I've been creating and putting online about Nichiren on Karma, Nichiren on Mandala Gohonzon. Perhaps, I put together a book a long time ago, and I've revised it a couple times, on the independent practice of Nichiren's doctrine of Shakyamuni's Lotus Sutra Buddhism, right? The independent practice. And it has a lot of key descriptions of these concepts of Buddhism. Wuji to you and me, the 9 consciousnesses, dependent origination, all of that. And I thought maybe it's time I did maybe a different take on that kind of a book. Maybe just something, and I threw a title in my head. Sometimes working on a book starts with a title that kind of parameterizes what the book's going to contain. And I thought, what about Buddhism Basics? Not Buddhism for dummies, because that would be all of the Buddhist traditions, right? And there are many, many of them. But the traditions are I will hope, agree with me, 99% of traditions of Buddhism are samsaric preoccupations with the words. And unfortunately, that misleads and goes in so many directions. This is the province of religions, right? Everybody's got an opinion. They're like, you know the saying, everyone's got one. But certainly, there has to be, at some point, what does Shakyamuni teach? I don't care what his actual words were. What was it he was trying to identify that was so universal that anyone, no matter what their caste, right, India, whatever their caste, whatever their socioeconomic reality, whatever their health, whatever the color of their skin, whatever situation, a sentient mind, or insentient for that, but all things being in momentum, moment to moment, what do they all have in common? What can they all do to simply become aware, really aware of this engine of life? How can I teach? What do I have to say about it? How can I teach people to come to this realization? So this is prior to all the words, all of the traditions, all of the erroneous, right? Cast that aside. Oof. Out of the way. What's at the root? That's what I want to know. I'll put my own relationships to it. But what's the core? Right? So I thought, what if, like this Shoten Zenjin thing, we had a book that was kind of encyclopedia, dictionary, just not too involved, just a straightforward. Define karma. Define mandala. Define gohanzan. Define daimoku. Define Shoten Zenjin. Define self-manifestation. Define beginningless time. Time without beginning. Define Ichinen Senzen. Define 3,000 realms. Right? I did a book on the 3,000 realms, but it's Nichiren talking about, well, Nichiren and me. I did a lot of, as I always do, expansion on these topics. And that could go one of either way, this book. It could become a 6,000-page, multi-volume exploration of the key words and concepts of Buddhism, which I think would be a mistake. Because all I would do is add more noise to the parade of traditions out there. I would miss the target. My target being, there are a few key terms to know here. And in as few words as possible, can I just say karma is simply energy plus action? Of course, then you have to say, well, action. What is action? Action is any influence to energy that moves it, that creates momentum. Right? I could say a thought is an action, but of course, if you're a physicist or a chemist or biologist, you know that a lot of things are happening before thought happens. The ancient Chinese knew this. They called it taiji, a sort of a volition, but not really volition in a conscious way, just the tendencies and conditions of things to amalgamate or disperse. Just very rudimentary. Like if you study quantum field theory, you'll come to terms with the idea that in a field, particles, what we call particles, energy, formations of energy, lightning, faster than lightning, matter, antimatter, they're coming into being and going away. And for some particular condition, one continues to manifest. And as it continues to manifest moment to moment to moment to moment, it then precipitates or amalgamates with other process, and then boom, right? Big bang. It happens so fast, but at its minimal core, everything is potential. Nothing is until it becomes and then is. So formations, the language of Buddhism, right? So there's a word I could put in the book, formations. But you can see this is going to be a cascade, don't you? I say karma. Karma is energy plus actions. What is energy plus actions? Well, then we're talking about there's an intermediary in the plus sign. With actions, there is what happens. What does that equal? Energy plus action. Oh, it equals formation. So it's not stuff yet. It's just that there's a momentum. Oh, momentum. we just go down a rabbit hole of words again. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. I'm always trying to problem solve for the confidence building of our practice, to get rid of doubt. And so part of me just wants to really simplify. But darned if simplification doesn't immediately lead to complexity. And isn't that samsara? Somehow to negotiate some middle ground? So this is a bit of it's a Q&A because it's sparked of questions from you guys and myself over the years, right? There's a lot of these questions we have as we begin our study and search in Buddhism that we sometimes just sit on the shelf and go, that's just, nobody wants to answer that. Let me just stick that over here. Why there's so many Buddhisms. Yeah. I'm going to focus on this right now. But we really should address that question. Nobody does. So I'm always trying to clear those shelves, right? Because that's my mission here with this channel, with the website, with everything that I do. So I want to get rid of doubt. I want to funnel everything into a clear, direct understanding. That's what Shakyamuni was trying to do, right? And certainly Tendai, Miao Lo, Dengyo, Nagarjuna, Nichiren, every great bodhisattva that is our teachers have been trying to do this thing and make it obvious, make it direct, make it simple. Because it should be, right? Like turning a light bulb on in a dark attic full of stuff that you can't see in the dark. That's the reason for Daimoku. Nichiren didn't invent the idea of Daimoku. He just applied it to the ultimate teaching. But chanting the titles of sutras, that predates Nichiren thousands of years. But we don't talk about that. And because we don't talk about it, we assume that Nichiren invented everything, and now we're suddenly Nichiren Buddhists. Nichiren didn't invent Buddhism. Oh, yet another flavor of Buddhism. What the hell is going on? Do you see the confusion? So I want your thoughts. I really want to appeal to your opinions on this. Email me or put it in the comments. Is some form of Buddhist Basics potentially a valuable tool? Again, the tool being to eliminate doubt. Because that's our main obstacle. That's the main monkeys we have in our practice. Anyone could sit down and chant Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. think it, verbalize it, internalize it, right? It's not hard. Yes, there are obstacles of all kinds, and I hear some of you out there going, well, what if you're mute? Or what if you can't speak? Or obstacles, yeah? Point is, everyone already has Buddha, that mental facility. It's innate. It is part of the engine of life. So it's not like we're inventing anything. We're just awakening to it, in it. I want to hear from you. You think it's a good idea, or you think I'm just creating yet more confusion? Could be a good idea. I'm still trying to envision how I would make it a useful tool. Maybe it's a collection of charts, like flashcards. maybe that's the idea. Buddhist flashcards. Wow. I'm setting myself up. That would certainly confine my verbose nature to a small card. How much information could I put on there before it would be illegible, right? I really want to hear what you think. All right. So what to title this Q&A? The 8 Winds? I think that's a kind of a poetic document in that it explores this entire topic, really. The way we assign meaning to words when what we should be doing is assigning meaning to the way our mind works. To inculcate, there's a wonderful word, the meaning. Not invest in more words. Oh, I know what that means now. Change stations. Those of you who've watched the last few videos will know what that's a reference to. Teaser. All right. In order for your practice to be strong, success, prosperity, right? Prosperous practice. What a conundrum. You have to clear your obstacles out of the way because they are negative influences. They are negative because they are influencing you away to your monkey mind and other thoughts. This is why I'm constantly saying, when you chant, you don't chant for things, to things, of things. When you chant, your focus should be entirely on Buddha-ness, to experience it right now. Because from that perch, everything else makes sense. What you want, what you need, what you have to have, what is wrong, what is good. From the perch of Buddha-ness, it resolves right away. You now understand. You now see. You now experience life. Fix my stub toe. Fix my stub toe isn't going to fix your stub toe. But if you open your Buddha mind to all of your life, your stub toe becomes very, very minimal. It will pass. It will heal. You can take care of it a little better. You'll have insights on how to deal with it while you live your whole life. That's why chanting for things is so incredibly myopic, samsaric, suffering. Why would you do that with your practice? But we do it. Maybe not in front of our Butsudan. Maybe not while we're chanting, although it creeps in all the time because our monkeys are loud. But you should redouble your focus. Know I'm looking at myoho. What does myoho mean? Oh, yes, potential, instantiation, instantiate Buddha-ness. Be a transformer. You approach your chanting from that point of view, and your monkey mind will cower and run. I guarantee it. All that other stuff, it's just noise. And I know when life is full of struggles, it's hard to remember that because the noise is so loud. All the more reason to really focus. You running out of time? That's the conditions of your life because you filled it up with so much other stuff. So make that 10 minutes you have really determined. Namo myoho renge kyo. Make it matter. That's all there is to say. So, maybe that's the epitaph in the back of the book. Make it matter. Oh, we're a strange lot, we humans. Just, how'd that song go in the 80s? Don't worry, be happy. Oh, yeah. That's all. That's all it takes. Namo myoho renge kyo. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps promote the channel, grow the Sangha. It's our Bodhisattva effort. If they're helpful, these books I keep talking about, ebooks on threefoldlotus.com or at lulu.com/Kwoon or spotlight/Kwoon, whatever. Keep your practice strong. That's what matters all the time. That's the only thing that's really important. Everything else is just navigating karma. Don't let it preoccupy you. It will. That's life. Appreciate it. Look, laugh at it. Oh my goodness. I don't know which way to duck. This is incredible. Because it is. Take more time to laugh, to enjoy even the stubbed toe. Right? Oh my goodness, you hurt so bad. It's insane. This little injury occupying my total attention. How hilarious. Try it. In the meantime, don't stub your toe. Please. Take care of your health. Keep your practice strong above all else. Be kind to yourself and others. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much. Bye for now.